The sound, the fury, the victims.
The disaster is unfolding on an epic scale.
The Category 4 storm took 69 lives and hit the Texas coast so hard it wreaked havoc for hundreds of miles. And every single school in Corpus Christi ISD was damaged. $70 million in damages.
We did have some roofs where you could really see the damage, where things were torn off and blown out, and we had water into the buildings and the classrooms.
To repair the damage, the district filed a claim with their insurance company, Houston-based AmRisc, which is owned by Truist Bank. But AmRisc could only pay out $8 million for all that damage.
Between what they've given us and what we expect, we think there's a big gap.
So the district filed a lawsuit against AmRisc. That's when it found buried deep in the fine print of its insurance policy was a clause preventing it from suing AmRisc. Instead, to try to get their money to fix their schools for 33,000 students, Corpus Christi ISD was forced to go into a private and confidential arbitration. Not right here in Texas, but all the way up in New York.
This does made New York City!
With New York lawyers and a New York judge.
New York City!
New York laws are traditionally pro-insurance compared to Texas.
Attorney Matthew Pearson should know. He's been the lawyer for a lot of school districts, and many of his fights involve the very same insurance company.
I would tell them up front, look, we can litigate this, but I will tell you the value of your case in New York is at least 50% less.
And just 50 cents on the dollar is exactly what Corpus Christi ISD eventually got from AmRisc in its New York arbitration. The insurance company paid only $35 million, half of the $70 million in hurricane damage. So who paid the rest? You guessed it. Taxpayers. The school district had to raise taxes to help pay for the repairs.
Residents on Padre Island and Flower Bluff woke up without electricity.
You gotta love the folks at AmRisc. After Hurricane Hannah raked schools in Edinburgh ISD and caused $40 million in damage, AmRisc offered to pay a little over $800,000. That case is still ongoing. AmRisc peddles what's called surplus line insurance to cover things that a lot of insurance policies don't cover, like hurricane damage. But here's the deal. AmRisc is now accused of failing to mention their little New York game.
And in lots of cases, we're seeing these policies aren't actually put together, finalized, and sent out until 30 days, 45 days after the fact. And sometimes we've had clients that don't even get a copy of their policy until after there's a claim.
The complaints led Texas lawmakers to try to put a stop to it.
It makes no sense for a Texas property owner to have their claims resolved in New York under New York law.
Galveston State Representative Mays Middleton led the charge. Texas fights, he said, should be settled in Texas, not in New York.
This burden makes the arbitration process more expensive, cumbersome, time-consuming, and dissuades policyholders from seeking a better outcome.
Testifying at the Capitol hearing last April were several policyholders of AmRisc, or in this case, victims, including Fred Bandera, who owns 18 commercial properties damaged by the same hurricane.
Because of having to go to New York and the expenses and the difference in the laws, I had to settle for between 30 to 40% of the claim.
Here's another unhappy AmRisc customer, Houston businessman Matt Dillick.
I'm a property owner, and I've been a victim of this concealment of the arbitration clause.
Dillick owns the Settlers Ranch apartment complex in southeast Houston, also damaged by Hurricane Harvey. And once again, AmRisc refused to pay the full claim. In fact, they were trying to pay nothing. So Dillick sued right here in Harris County.
I was actually sued in New York to take my Texas case to New York.
But luckily in Dillick's case, a New York judge thought the whole thing didn't make any sense since all the parties were from Texas, and he sent it back to Harris County. After a recent hearing, we caught up with the attorney representing this insurance company.
I'm with Dolcefino Media, and we wanted to ask you about the lawsuits against the school districts, the ones the school districts have filed.
No comment.
What about the kids and the parents of those districts?
There's no comment. Thank you.
Texas law needs to apply here.
Ware Wendell is with Texas Watch, an insurance watchdog group in Austin.
There is no good, compelling reason to take Texas insurance disputes and send them up to New York and let New York City lawyers charge $1,200 an hour to resolve our Texas insurance disputes right here in our state.
The legislature agreed. No more New York arbitration with AmRisc. The bill was sent to the governor to sign.
It was a bipartisan bill that made it out of committee, that made it through the Senate, that made it through the House, and got up to the governor.
But Greg Abbott, he vetoed it.
Texans for Lawsuit Reform sent the governor a letter asking him to veto, and lo and behold, he vetoes it.
Texans for Lawsuit Reform is a powerful Austin lobby. They never bothered to testify against the bill, but they really didn't have to. In its letter to Abbott, it acknowledged the New York problem, but then turned around and claimed the legislation does not recognize that consumers of surplus lines insurance are sophisticated businesses capable of protecting their own interests. In other words, buyer beware. It's hard to do when the arbitration clause is hidden in the fine print. Still, the governor agreed with the lobbyists, saying he thought the law could, quote, inadvertently increase insurance premiums. But the insurance industry watchdog believes the veto will do exactly that, raise insurance rates.
The governor vetoed the bill, which I am very concerned is going to drive up costs for Texas policyholders, whether those are school districts or businesses or even homeowners. And for those school districts, that's going to result in a tax hike for you and me.
And continue to line the pockets of New York lawyers and protect an insurance company that should face the music here in Texas.
Cookie, this stuff's made in New York City? New York City?
Get a rope.